And so I go and talk to this wealth manager, and he basically was like, unless you can deposit $1 million, this phone call is a waste of my time. And I was like, well, dang, I mean.
Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a guest on, and I'm very excited to hear what this guest has to say because Mr. Calvin, when I read his tag on LinkedIn, talked about closing the wealth gap for us all and helping us building wealth, and I think that is a phenomenal approach to his business. Calvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing here with your platform.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So, Calvin, tell us a little bit about your background, and then I want to talk about Freedman Capital.
Of course. So I've been in finance and technology my whole life. I mean, I was writing programs and making applications as a teenager, and I probably bought my first stock at like 13 or 14. And so for me, yeah, finance and technology have been just a love of mine my whole life. And so that kind of led me down this road of starting my first company out of college, which was a successful web development studio. We won some awards and things. And when I sold it, I thought I had a little bit of money. So I went to try and find a wealth manager. I was like, hey, I'm doing well. I bought my house at 20. So I'm feeling like I'm doing something. And so I go and talk to this wealth manager, and he basically was like, unless you can deposit $1 million, this phone call is a waste of my time. And I was like, well, dang, I mean, and so that is kind of what led me down this path of building Freedman Capital, which is to empower everyone so that they can have a partner to help them build wealth, not just help folks when they already are wealthy.
Awesome. And I think that becomes a big difference. Like I said, when you're helping people build that wealth, because a conversation like that can be very humbling.
Very humbling. Very. Ego was gone.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about Freedman Capital. Like, when did you actually start that one, and just kind of what's that journey been like so far?
Yeah, so we first formed it in 2015. It was actually this month, May of 2015. And it first started as this concept of let's just diversify people who are already investing in the market. But we were in like this niche space called currencies and futures and Forex. We launched, and then people wanted, they loved our brand and our mission, that they wanted to give us their whole portfolio in a very volatile niche market. We were like, that's not a good idea. We do not want to put your life savings into this one thing. So we took a step back and relaunched the company under the Security and Exchange Commission, became the first Black-owned automated wealth management platform in the country. And now, we are providing wealth management as a subscription service. So we try and make it as easy as it is for you to get Netflix. You can get financial planning, investment management, and very soon insurance as well, all under one roof.
Okay, awesome. I mean, that's a sign of someone who has respect for their clientele. When the clientele wants to make a decision to say, hey, I want to put all my money on this, to put the brakes on it shows, your integrity and the integrity of your business.
I thank you for that, because for us, right, I already fortunately had like a high paying job, right? So I left that job for this mission of trying to help us close the wealth gap. Because a lot of people focus on the negatives in the wealth gap, and maybe it's just like our personality or my personality, but there are some really strong signs showing that if we can just nudge people's behavior, just kind of show them a different way, that they can make major strides, not just for themselves, but for their families as well.
And I guess speaking of that, is there any one thing you can give us a hint to as far as like, hey, this is one thing that you've seen that, hey, if
Yeah.
people start doing this, it can start nudging things in the right direction.
Yeah, so first, let's just take one step back, because like virtually everyone saw that stat, which is that it will take you 228 years for Black people to match the wealth of white people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that stat, when you look at it from just that perspective, it's like, oh Lord, we'll never, overcome or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at some recent data, Nielsen, who is the data, they do a lot of research and things. They did a study, and that they shown that from the 45 income to the 45K income bracket, all the way up to 200K and higher income brackets, the African American population is increasing and getting to the next income bracket faster than any other racial group in the country. So now, see, that's what people always say. They're like, wow. But I mean, think about it. Look at you and your friends. Like, look at where you are at your age versus where our parents were. So like, even just anecdotally, you'll see that we are making strides, right? Now, the media is focused on just the gap. What we are focused on is that, okay, you have broken through a new level. You are earning more money than you have in the past. We want to help you turn that higher income into wealth and then make it generational by helping you plan and prepare for it.
Okay, awesome. I mean, I like that mission because it's something I was talking on another interview with the CEO of another tech company. And one of the things him and I were talking about is how when you understand where you are today, it's just focusing on how do you make progress, not necessarily like how do you compare yourself to other people. It's just how do you make progress from where you are, and it's like seeing yourself on that steady process of growing and growing and growing. I mean, when you look back years from now, or even 1 or 2 generations, and you're like, wow, we made steady progress, and look how far we've come.
And to me, that is the whole goal, right? So, as you may know, if you're working with a financial advisor or a certified financial planner, just on an hourly level, they will be charging you between $150 and $350 an hour, right? Mm-hmm. And when you study how wealth is built, it comes down to having mainly 3 things. The first is access, then you have to have tools and education. And so to help people, go down that path to be able to look back and see how far they have moved in a month or 6 months or a year or 5 years or 10, we need to make it accessible. We need to provide education and then make the tools easy for folks to use. That's why with us, we have, free plans for folks to get started. We still provide certified financial planners, but not at $350 an hour. Our top plan right now, which is the unlimited advice plan, is $65 per month. You still get to work with that certified financial planner, unlimited, and it includes investments and insurance analysis. And because we are a tech-enabled company, that's what lets us do this, because we have automated the back end so that we can pass those savings on to customers and hopefully bring in a whole new culture of people into wealth building.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what that was like. I mean, being, the first tech subscription-based company in this space, what was that like?
So the crazy thing is that when you come from the outside, you don't often realize how different you are. And by that, what I am saying is that, even though I worked in the financial service industry for about 5 or 6 years, I worked in it from a technology perspective, not from a working with the end user. And because I created this company out of a problem that I saw I was having, and like 45 million people just like me were having as well, for me it was just like, okay, what is the most logical way that we are used to things now? Like, we're used to things being on a subscription. we're used to getting started with trials and, being month to month and being able to terminate without any fees. And so I just tried to build the service that I would want or that you would want, and not, look at it from the lens of like, oh, what is the industry traditionally doing? Because at the end of the day, they aren't traditionally servicing me. Like, I have not had any wealth managers call me and try and get my money. I mean, they might blow you up, but they haven't called me before. And so it's like, it doesn't even matter what they are doing because they're not even trying to help us. And so I wanted to build a service that would help folk out who have never dealt with a planner before, and so that we make it easy for them to start trusting it, to go down this road, because that's all that kind of background that you have to understand when you are trying to do what we're doing to close the wealth gap.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find that there's some, I guess, common misconceptions that people have as to why they haven't engaged with a wealth management?
So I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is in the word that you said, wealth management, right? We have literally had people say, I don't have any wealth.
Wow.
Because their perception of wealth was, oh, millionaire or billionaire. It's not, okay, like, just money is one part of life, right? But even and especially in times like this, in COVID times, we all have to realize how wealthy we are in terms of love and family and friends. Like, wealth is whatever you value. And so the thing that we want to help folk do when it comes to their money is to look at it from a different perspective. Because even small things, when done on a daily or consistent basis, can grow to be something huge. And so one of the biggest misconceptions was people were feeling like, oh, $100 per month, that will make a big deal, or, 500 or whatever. But when you look at it over the span of a lifetime, you can make a massive change and help set up your kids or your grandkids. I mean, for me, my great-grandparents, they weren't balling out of control, right? They were living in DC. They, were able to buy their house and buy one more house, right? But taking that step, introduced my grandparents and then my father into that mentality. And so the wealth was not just in buying one more house and renting it out during segregation, but it was the knowledge on how they did it, which passed down to the next generation. And so it's really like positioning like, hey, what you have and what you are and you matter. Like this day and time matters, and you can make a pivot that can impact generations for times to come, but you just got to start with where you are and with what you have now.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think I completely agree with that, because I would say, I didn't come from a wealthy family. I think probably growing up, my parents, I had 3 older brothers, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad probably never made more than $60,000 a year. But it's just seeing that progression of my father's from Southeast DC, and my mother's from Capitol Heights, Maryland. So it's just like seeing, they're not from an extremely wealthy background, but just seeing the progress that they made in their life with just changing some of the decisions, and then that wisdom cascaded into my life, and seeing, the decisions that I made, and, when my wife and I have children, the decisions that they'll make. So I completely agree with that compounding effect of just the wisdom that you pass down.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just as a quick sidebar, because I just want to see like how close we are from, because my father went to Anacostia High in Southeast DC.
That's where my dad went.
All right, we want to talk offhand, because the whole side of my dad's side is still in Capitol Heights too. So so it's like crazy about I didn't even know about that. But I mean, that is it though. Like, it's not about you going from where you are to being a billionaire in one generation. It's, about you taking one step forward. Your life is a little better, but then, as as a kid, you see that, and then it makes you want to do better. Mm-hmm. And that is how we can close this gap. And so when you look at it from that perspective, plus the fact that our income growth is outpacing the rest of our peers in terms of their growth, you can begin to see a major opportunity to reduce that 228 years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know by how far yet because it depends on what we do.
Yeah.
But if each one of us does our part and then shares it with a friend, then together, not just will our life be better, but let's just look at it at like a macro level.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer use the word, Black folk being a minority or Hispanics being a minority, because the reality is we are becoming the new American majority in America. And by 2040, it's going to be complete majority, right? And so we can't have a country where the majority of the population has a zero or negative net worth.
Yeah.
And that is the path that we're going on unless we can take the steps and changes that we're talking about right now.
Awesome. Now, I know you've mentioned in our conversation about, the services that people can engage with Freeman Capital, but I want to take this time for you to just specifically hit on the services, and so people can really get a full view of, hey, the spectrum of services and the benefit of working with Freeman Capital. So tell us a little bit about that.
Happy to do that. And so mainly it really centers around providing one-to-one wealth plans. And so when you sign up and you work with one of our planners, you get a chance to figure out, okay, this is where I am right now. Here are the tools that I have in terms of income, a retirement, side hustles, what have you. And then where do I want to be? And then you get the expertise of people who have worked with hundreds of clients to figure out, okay, what is the most efficient and fastest way to help you take steps forward? And it spans the whole financial gamut. Things from just budgeting or savings all the way to figuring out your retirement. Like if you're working your job and you don't really understand what's going on in your retirement, you can literally just upload the PDF, talk to your planner, have him figure it out for you, and then make a recommendation. All the way to figuring out, okay, I am starting a family or I need to protect my income. What are my insurance gaps? Because, a lot of times we are doing these GoFundMes to kind of raise money at the last minute. And you can just plan for that a little bit to make a change to make sure that you're protected all the way through. Hey, now, we have folks who are getting ready to retire. So they're trying to figure out how to, take their money out, to figuring out how to pass their wealth on to the next generation. And so you get all of this expertise in the palm of your pocket in a month-to-month subscription to where you can upgrade and downgrade at any time. We can manage your investments, and it's kind of all in one place.
Awesome. Definitely. So if someone was interested in subscribing to your system, where can they find you, or where should they look for you on social media, et cetera?
Yeah, so we're Freeman Capital on social media, definitely on Instagram. That's where we live the most. And then the website is the best place to go ahead and do that. It's freemancapital.co. And what we are doing, especially during these times of COVID, is that we are doing free consultations. So if you are, if this is totally brand new, you've never talked to a planner, you're trying to figure out how they can help you out, you can hop on the phone with a member of our team and have a free call and just kind of get some value, just to kind of put your toe in the water. And then the beautiful thing is that it's no contract. So once you try it, if you want to get it, if you want to dive in, you can do that. And then at any minute you can downgrade or just leave if all of your needs are met. We want to make folks feel comfortable and empowered, not just financially, but even with our service.
Awesome. Now, before we wrap up the interview, one of the questions that I ask all the guests that come on is, what is one or two pieces of wisdom that you've learned about building or running your business as you've been in the process of building and running Freeman Capital?
So I would say that the number one thing that comes to mind is that when I first built this business, I thought I had an idea of who I wanted to help. But it was a very general idea where it was like, I want to help people of color, build wealth, yada, yada, yada. But what really has helped us to really grow and kind of hit the nail on the head is really having a deep understanding of who we are trying to help. Beyond just, how much they make or where they live, but like what challenges are they dealing with? Like what problems do they have? Because when you really understand your customer at that level, then that's how you can build a product to really solve that problem. So it's more than just, oh, we'll, help them increase their net worth, but okay, we will give them the peace, the security, and the clarity and plan so that they no longer have to feel stressed out about their finances. Because that is really what we're trying to solve here. And so for me, the biggest thing has been like going and deep diving and learning and talking to as many people as we can to figure out how we can help them with not just their financial needs, but like their personal needs, because it's all tied into one.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Calvin, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you,
Definitely
man.
to all the listeners and the watchers, definitely check out Freeman Capital across all social media. Instagram is where you said you guys do
Yeah,
most of your
yeah,
posting.
exactly.
So definitely check out Freeman Capital and visit freemancapital.co. So Calvin, thank you for being on the show.
No, thank you for this. Thank you for your platform and the work that you do. It means so much for.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.